Happy Wednesday, everybody. How are you guys doing? It is Martin John, and this is the Tao of the Day. I'm so grateful to be able to offer you guys insights from the Tao. The Tao is an ancient text. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text. Lois is coming right up. Do you have a new profile pic, Lois? Is that right? Is that what I'm seeing? Oh my
Made
God,
it
it
for
is.
me.
It's brand
She
new.
made me
Look
a
at you.
cartoon. So she took my picture I took when a couple of weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, before I changed my hair again,
Mm.
and then she sent it to me last week, and I was like, "What is this?" She said, "I made you a cartoon," and I was like, "This is so pretty." And then I forgot about it, and then I saw her put hers up, and I forgot about it again. And
Who is this that made this?
Sharente.
Oh, beautiful.
So if you want to cartoonize a picture, ask her to heck yeah. Because
And
she
I don't
does
I don't change my
she did a good
I don't
job.
it was funny, like before the picture that I use now as my avatar, like I used an image for years and years and years. Like I don't it's not something that I think about too much, like changing those
It's
things.
not something I think about too much either. Like my Facebook page changes maybe once or twice a year, if that.
Oh
Okay.
wow. Yeah, mine
Yeah.
changes like once every 5 years.
Okay, so no, but the thing is that as a woman, women change their pictures a lot. Okay, I don't
Yeah.
know how many. I mean, the people who, when I'm on Facebook, I'm always seeing, oh, they got a new profile picture. Oh, they got a new profile picture. Oh, they got a new profile. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying? It's always like that. But I generally, because I wasn't on social media that much, I was not, it was not a big thing. Now I would go on and I would post things that I thought were inspirational and forward things I thought were inspirational. But as far as posting pictures, I kind of stopped doing that. Especially
Yeah.
posting pictures with that data stuff on there because people stalk people, man, and
Oh,
I've
I'm
been
telling you.
before, so I stop. I don't. I like to say I'm not a big on advertising. Okay, how about that? I like to
Uh-huh.
dress stuff, but I don't advertise. It's like, hey, come on, do this. I don't even advertise for my business, and I still got a lot of business. So when I do advertise, when I will advertise, it's gonna go crazy. I already know that. No,
Well,
because
good
I'm
on you.
like, I only got what I'm. This is comfortable right now, Martin. Martin, this is comfortable.
That's
Okay,
right. And it's
I
got
still
to.
got a lot of time to myself. But when
That's
I
right.
when I get ready to advertise when I come back from Paris, because I'm gonna have to put that money back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, then I know already know it's gonna take off. That's why God said do all that first. But I 52 came to my head out of
Okay.
nowhere when I saw you pop up.
All right. Well, everything starts with the Tao, the mother of all things. If you know the mother, you know the child. If you know the child and remember the mother, you have nothing to fear in your life. We're gonna cover that really well because I really like that. But we continue to say, oh, this is the one that says, shut your mouth and keep still.
Yeah.
If your life will be, and your life will be full of happiness. If you talk all the time, always doing something, your life will be hopeless. If you take insight, if it takes insight to see subtly, it takes strength to yield gently to force. Use that strength to hang on to your insight, and you will always be at peace. That's how to get the right. That's how to get right with the Tao. You know, it's funny. Yesterday we talked about getting right with the Tao as well.
Mm-hmm.
You and I.
Staying in balance. It's about staying in balance. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
certain level where I want to keep, I want to stay. I don't want to drop a level because of a circumstances. I don't want to drop a level because of an attitude. I don't want to drop a level. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
want.
you don't. I mean, but sometimes we have to. Sometimes
Oh,
we
all
feel
right.
something, and
Yeah,
in and out, and that's all right.
yeah.
Balance, bring it up. One step back, two steps forward.
Yes. My thing, my mother used to tell us to take every knock as a boost, or at least she used to told me. My sister didn't get a lot of stuff I got from my mother, but my mother would tell me to take every knock as a boost. They knock you down 2 steps, you're going up 4. They knock you
That's right.
down, you're going up 20. So I don't mind taking knock as boost. I'm just not.
Mm-hmm.
I can stay my ass down there,
You
but
know, and that's interesting because, like, I think that brings us right to what this Tao starts talking about. And I'm going to read this full first section, and then we're going to break that down because it's
uh,
it's a doozy. Everything starts with the Tao. the mother of all things. So it's expressing here that the Tao is the mother of all things.
Yes.
If you know the mother, you know the children. If you know the children and remember the mother, you have nothing to fear in your life.
So that's namaste.
Mm-hmm.
That is namaste all the way. I ought to do a talk on namaste, but that is namaste all the way. The God in me sees the God in you. Basically
Yeah.
is the premise of it. And if you can remember that when somebody's going off on you, that's why I said it took practice for me to do it. While somebody's fussing at me, I'm praying because I still know that they're a part of me. You know So the God in me sees the God in the other, that because and recognizes that the God in the other is the same God in me, and that I am the other. And then when I remember the person who I am, and remember who they are at their core, then things are things are peaceful, things are compassionate, things are understanding, it's loving, it's all that kind of stuff, because I'm not going to go do nothing against me.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's not just like I mean, Namaste, addresses that in this, because it's a greeting that we give to other people.
Right.
And I don't, and and although everything you said is right, I want to broaden it. I want to broaden it to the place of like, even tripping on, like when you're walking down the sidewalk and there's a
Mm-hmm.
crack or something, you trip and you fall and you scrape your knee, and you could really easily get to the point of like damning that crack or being upset at that experience or whatever. But that experience is also God. That
Mm-hmm.
experience also has, even though it's not a physical, like conscious being, it is a moment in time,
Right.
and that deserves us
Mm-hmm.
to see the God in it, in that experience. There is God in that experience. And I think that's the depth that this chapter, that the beginning of this talks about. If you know the mother, that everything starts, everything starts with Tao, the mother of all things. So every moment,
Everything is good. It's all good, no matter what it is.
right.
All good. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you know the mother, you know the children. You know the children of the Tao are you and I, and every moment, every word, every thought. And there is no time. It just all is Tao. If you
Yeah.
know the children and remember the mother, if you know the children, i.e., that moment, that word, that person, that that
That thing.
that that pain, all of it, yeah, you have nothing to fear in your life, because even though you fall and trip and maybe break a bone, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, in this moment God exists.
That's right. You say break a bone. You made me reminded me of when I had just got started getting well, and I had did that, washed that window, and then I'd worked my way all the way up to playing tennis with my kids, and we were playing tennis, and something happened, and I just fell. I just really fell, and when I fell, I knew I broke something, and I just began to just laugh, and everybody was looking at me because, like, look, she just got back from death, and she's playing tennis, and and they were all panicked, and I sat on the ground laughing because
Hmm.
it was like, okay, one, I was overconfident. That was the first part. That's what I laughed about. I was overconfident that I can go just finish, barely could walk, and now can walk and can dance, and I'm gonna go play tennis. That
Hmm.
that was a little bit much. So when I fell, it was like it was like now, after I go through all this and come back from death and all that, now I go fall and break my arm. And I said, something must be in this. And I just sat there on the ground laughing. My kids thought I was crazy. The people ran out. Are you okay? And I'm just cracking up because my thoughts were not their thoughts. My thoughts weren't,
That's right.
oh my God, she hurt. She's broken. Oh my God. Oh my God. Mama did it again. Oh, here she gonna be sick.
Hmm.
That was not my thought. My thought was, wow, okay, I go through all this now. I break my arm. This shit is funny.
That's
What am
Yep.
I supposed to
Yep.
learn from this? And one is never go any faster than it's safe for me to go.
Well, yeah, and you have to feel through it. Like, you're pushing yourself, and the the God in that moment, the God in you needed to show itself to you in a way, and
Yeah.
then you yielded to its power. You just said, all right, well, this is where I'm at now. Broke my shit. Like,
Basically.
what's up? Like, I got
Okay.
you. I got you. All right. I'll keep my mouth shut. I'm just, like, I'm pushing the boundary. And like, when you tell
Yes,
me I got to stop, oh, oh,
my thing
all
was,
right, son, I'll stop.
I see you. That's what I said about. I see you. Okay, I hear you.
Yep.
You
Right.
know.
Like, what
So
a
I just
beautiful, yeah.
it's real. So I had a cast and I just dressed it up, and people are like, "What? Where? How'd you get a cast that looks like?" I'm like, "Oh, I made cast covers."
Yeah.
Now I broke my
Beautiful.
leg, did the same thing, but it was funny. It was just funny that normally anybody under that circumstance, having come from dying and all that stuff and falling, oh my God, they would go back into that old bullshit. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought it was funny. I really thought it was funny because here I go through all this and now something stupid like this because my ass is
Mm,
trying to. I know I ain't supposed to be doing yet.
yeah.
So yeah.
That's great. And that brings us into this next part where it says, like, shut your mouth and keep still, and your
Okay.
life will be full of happiness. Right? Like,
I'm sorry. I'm you said it, and I can remember sitting on the ground and laughing
yeah.
while
Just
they're
sit there. That's all right. Keep still. Your life
yeah,
will be full
keep-
of happiness. And
yeah.
if you talk all the time, always doing something, your
Hmm.
life will be hopeless. If you said, "Oh, I gotta play tennis, and now I can't play tennis, and now I gotta complain about it, and I gotta bitch about it, and I gotta moan about it," like, your
Or
life is
"Oh,
going
I
to
can't
be
even play
hopeless.
tennis no more. I know,
That's
no, no.
right.
Oh, that's that man. Nikki Hokey did that. That's my mama's word. Nikki Hokey did
Mhm.
that. I wasn't going out like that. You know, to me,
That's right.
I found it funny and ironic. Okay,
Yeah.
because I knew my ass shouldn't have been on no tennis court. Okay,
Yeah.
but I could do it. I was good, and I was showing them, and I was hitting them balls back and stuff. And it just, we don't even know how I felt. It was just like boom. I was on the ground. I was like, that trip over my feet. I don't
That's
even think
right.
we
And
didn't know what happened, but it was funny. But yeah, and then if you're talking, if you're so busy talking about it, you're not giving yourself enough time to get quiet with God, with your inner self, so that you can hear an answer. Because you
yeah.
can solve a problem in the same. I just talked about this on somebody else's thing. You can't solve a problem from the same energy and the same position it took to create it. You gotta step away from it and step above it, and then
Yeah.
look at it, to see where you're going. And for us talking, like I said, I listen on this app all day because I'm doing my work around my house, setting my business stuff up. So I have all day to listen to this when I want to, if I want to. I
Mm.
don't,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
and
Yeah.
just sit and listen. People say, "Oh, you talk a lot." No, I don't talk a lot. I live by myself with the dog. Okay, and I
Mm.
TV, so I'm not talking to no TV. I'm reading and listening and reading and listening and reading and listening and reading. Okay, so when I talk, a lot of stuff comes out because I don't talk.
Right.
You know,
And what's great is, like, where this Tao then goes is, it takes insight to see subtlety. It takes strength to yield to force. It took you being really strong in that moment to yield to the force of the moment breaking your bone. That
mhm,
moment holding that moment, like, you're held by God. That
mhm,
moment has a God within it. And
yeah,
you can use that strength to hang on to your insight being, you're not supposed to be up in here doing this shit, and like, you're just gonna get benched for a minute, and that's all right, and you
yes,
will always be at peace. That's how
there
to
it is.
get right with the Tao.
Yes, yes, yes. So that was beautiful, and when you said that, what was the second line? With the third line from the end? Because I had a thought with that.
Hang on to Okay. Yield. It takes, well, I'll just read this whole last section. It takes insight to see subtlety. It takes
That right,
strength.
that
Yeah,
right there.
it takes
Take
yeah, it takes
insight.
strength it takes insight to see subtlety.
Okay. Like when I tell you I would talk on this app and I say that when somebody approaches me with some and I feel some type of way, okay? then I know that I am a ball of light and darkness cannot enter into my life. So anything I feel is coming from my ball, okay? And if it's coming from my ball, I could clean it up and then I see that person in a different light.
Yeah.
So it takes that insight to knowing that I am that light that darkness can't enter into. But I love you, my Martin. And I
No, love you, Lloyd. Thank you so much for joining me. It's so great to always have people willing to just kind of be vulnerable with me on this app. Like that's such a big aspect of putting a number out there and saying, what does this have to show me? you know what does this have to, we were talking beforehand about her advertising and her not currently advertising, and having to do that when she gets back from Paris, and all of that has to do with this as well. Like, everything starts with the Tao, the mother of all things. If you know the mother, then you know the children. If you know the children and remember the mother, you have nothing to fear in your life. See, she knows. She knows that advertising, it's going to come. That's going to be the children of all of the work that she has done, which is the mother, and that is her injecting into something, just like the Tao has injected into Lois. And each incident, and making sure that, like, we are moving forward in our time as we need to. And I remember there was a time, when Lois was feeling, triggered from an incident at Valentine's Day, and she had to take a pause from interacting, and she created an account so she can be anonymous on here. That, again, the children of the mother, and all of that revolves around this concept of that the Tao holds on to, which is, there is the depth of feminism that can, not feminism, but the depth of the feminine that can yield to the structure of masculine energy. And with both, when we have both, we can have an experience. Without both, an experience isn't had. It's beautiful, wonderful work. Thank you so much, Lois, for being vulnerable and being able to come up and talk to me about that chapter, and to really kind of explore through it. And that was fun. So, if anybody else wants to come up and pick a number between 1 and 81, I would love for you guys to come up and do that. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and pick a number. This has been a while since I've been able to pick a number, so this is fun. I'm going to pick 16. I'm going to stick with the Hogan translation, and we're gonna see where this goes. Clear your head, stay calm, watch as everything happens around you. Everything reverts to its original state, which is nothing. And whenever something becomes nothing, it gets right with the Tao. If you don't understand that, you're going to screw up somewhere down the line. If you figure it out, you'll always know what to do. If you get right with Tao, you won't be afraid to die, because you know you will. So that's interesting. So when I was in my dark retreat, um, and back in 2014 when I got diagnosed with MS, these were two moments that I thought I was going to die, and I laid down in acceptance of it. And so that's nice to know. It's nice to know that I can do that. I always contributed that before to the idea that, like, I should have died when I was much younger anyway. So if I'm gonna die now, at least I had some years behind me. you know, Death is one of those things that, when you're an addict, you're out there and it can happen at any moment, and you kind of know that, and you're actually kind of wishing for it sometimes. Not that you want to kill yourself, but you want to die. Those are two different things. Um, and that is it's important to understand that. It's important to know that there's a difference between those things, that like, wanting to die and what that looks like, and wanting to kill yourself, right? Those are two different things. But want like I when I went into the hospital, when I had my MS diagnosis, so much of my body was just falling apart. So I definitely thought like, well, I'm dying, and that's just it. And then when I was in the retreat, no one was going to come and see me for 10 hours. I got stung by a scorpion, and so I thought, well, this is possibly it, and it wasn't. So grateful for that. But on both of those occasions, I was able to just kind of sit down and have this experience that, okay, am I ready for this? And I was very much ready for it. And that could be said for a number of things, right? Like a number of reasons. But we're going to look through this Tao, and we're going to see if we can find a little more insight. Clear your head, stay calm, watch everything happen. Watch as everything happens around you. It's interesting when we talk about this concept of being okay with death and what have you. That is happening around me, even though I could take ownership of it and say that it's happening to me. My body isn't me. Right? My body is not all that I am. It is a thing that things happen to. So when this line, clear your head, stay calm, watch as everything happens around you. Even if, like Lois was saying, you fall and break your bone, that is something that happens around you. That isn't something that's happening to you, the great you, the I that you are. That is something that is happening to your body. It's only partially it's only part of who you are. It is the part that gets to have these experiences. Right? So it is something that is happening around you. And when you take ownership of that and you say, this is happening to me, this is what I am this body, I am angry, I am happy, I am broken. When you own that, and you are overesteeming this body, you're overesteeming that experience at this moment. That experience doesn't require all of you, and yet all of you gets put into it. And so it's an important distinction to make. So if you can clear your head and stay calm, you can watch as everything happens around you, even if it's appearing, or even if you think, or even if you suppose that it's happening to you, it's really something that's just happening around you. So, just like when I laid down, so had these cold sweats after getting stung by the scorpion, and I'm laying down in my dark retreat, so I can't see anything, and I am getting these cold sweats, and I have to process. Yes, okay, this is something that's happening around me. This isn't something that's happening to me. I am having this experience, and we can watch as I go through this experience. And yes, it's possible that I won't make it through, and that's okay. Like that is what is happening. Like, we don't have to be afraid of this. We could step into it. um and as like, I will talk more about the retreat, and all of the ins and outs, that like, because that wasn't it. It wasn't like, I mean, there are definitely other opportunity, definitely other things happening, like, I was worried about having, possible amputations and other things like that, and I had to kind of get right with all of those things as well. um, so everything reverts to its original state, which is nothing. So understanding that helped me kind of embrace death, right? Like, I know that I will be nothing at some point. I will, like, yes, in the world, some of my recordings will last, maybe, and some of my, writings will last, maybe, and some of my lessons will, or messages will last, maybe, but but it will always return to nothing. So everything reverts to its original state, which is nothing, and nothing is the Tao. And whenever something becomes nothing, it gets right with the Tao. And like, it doesn't say the Tao, it gets right with Tao, right? Tao is you, Tao is all of these things. I put in the for some reason, because I speak of it that way, but Hogan doesn't utilize the word the before Tao. So everything reverts to its original state, which is nothing. And whenever something becomes nothing, it is right with Tao. That, as Lois and I were talking about earlier, this idea that everything isn't just people, animals, living things, everything, like even this moment, is going to revert to its original state, which is nothing, and it'll end. Moment to moment, every moment gets right with Tao by ending, by being nothing, by returning to nothing. We as bodies revert, like we keep, by living, by being in an environment full of oxygen and light and all of these things, we get to stave off entropy. But entropy is always coming, right? We are always. Oh, we got two people jump on. Marciella, how are you? And then Sammy, you are in line. um, so yeah, welcome to Tao of the Day.
Buenos dias.
Marcella,
How are
how are
you?
you?
Good, good. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Good.
So, yeah, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Let me start there. Glad you're doing well. And do you have a number for me?
13. I don't know what we're doing.
Oh,
I
okay.
just
So this
came up
is
to
Tao
say
of
good
the Day.
morning.
I don't know. I didn't know if you were familiar or not. Okay,
No,
so
no,
I wasn't sure if we had talked on this
no,
on my program before, but
no.
this is Tao of the Day. I do this
Mm-hmm.
weekdays, and um, I read passages from the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written by Lao Tzu and
Mm-hmm.
translates to the canon of reason, and so it's all about living a reasonable life. And I was just going through. Oh, I forgot what number. I think it was 16 I was going through. I should take a note really quick of that. And what we do is I ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81, because there's 81 chapters or verses in the Tao, and then we read that, and then we'll get your initial impressions, and then go through it line by line.
Hmm. Well, I said 13, but you know what? Why don't we do 22?
22.
Mm-hmm.
Off we go. Okay, I'm going to read the Stephen Mitchell translation.
Okay,
And it goes like this. It's a little longer, but I'll let you know when we're done.
okay,
And then just any initial reactions, any lines that pop out to you that are special. That's where we'll start, and then we'll go through it line by line. Sound good?
sure.
Wonderful. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. The Master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. Because he has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Because only in being lived by the Tao can you truly be yourself. That's
Hmm. Interesting. Um, okay, so what do we do next?
it. So, any initial thoughts? Like anything pop out at you initially, like
A
for that?
couple of things. A couple of things about not having goals. I don't like goals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It's just kind of a huge wake up one day where I said, you know, I'm just gonna live for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And about um, if you want to live, you have to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to be reborn, let
Right.
yourself
That one.
die.
That one. Yeah. That resonates on a deep level.
Yeah. I like that. I like this, this idea. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. You let yourself die to the moment. You let yourself die to the old identities that you had. Like if you were living under the influence of parents or even the
Hmm.
education system and other things like that, you have goals in mind, right?
Yes.
You're like, oh, they want you to have these goals. They want
Right.
you to achieve these things, and you're living under their influence for so much, and then you have to let yourself die to that identity of the person living under the influence of those externals.
That's it. I did that.
Yeah.
I did that. Amazing.
That's beautiful. So that's beautifully aligned. Okay, so beautiful. We have a nice kind of like little place to anchor ourselves, and we're going to
Mm-hmm.
go through this line by line and see if there's anything else that we can kind of pull from this.
Okay.
So, on this one specifically, and many other ones, I really like this bringing things back to the beginning, because even at the end here, like the last lines were when the ancient master said, "If you want to be given everything, give everything up."
Mm-hmm.
They
Yes.
were not using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you truly be yourself. So that line for me, like this idea of being lived by the Tao, being lived by this moment, being lived like you're talking about. Like I wake up today and what and who am I today? What is this today? And then we go to this first line, which is if you want to become whole, which ultimately is you be truly yourself. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. How does that how do you see that? How does that resonate with you? That idea of being partial, what does that look like?
Um, I, I don't know. I just want to go back 1 sec.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I did a talk about tabula rasa,
Mm-hmm.
and I explained to many people what it meant. And of course, everyone has their opinion of what that means. And do you know the term?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not everybody does. So,
Yeah.
it was basically, erase the slate, clean slate, brand new.
Things like yeah.
So reborn. And that's what I do. I tell them every morning I want to do that. But this one, be partial. Um, I haven't talked about it to many people. I'm getting more comfortable with expressing that I am on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And the symbol of autism is a puzzle piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't vibe with that.
Yeah.
It tells me I'm not whole.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's how everyone else views us. And I see it. I break myself down into little pieces to understand the whole piece. Yeah, that's it. That's the only thing that I can think right now. I
Yeah.
keep seeing that puzzle piece.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I talk a lot about, like when we talk about mental health, we talk about a lot of these things, like, the conversations that we have around them aren't are so often not are so often dictated and created by people who are not having the experience.
Mm-hmm.
you know and I always like because I'm coming from addiction, and I talk a lot
Mm-hmm.
about that work, and it's always such a battle to get people to recognize that no, it's not that they're addicts and you're not. You don't like their addictions, and so you label them, right?
Yep.
Like just like when we talk about on the spectrum, like okay, it's not that they're on the spectrum and you're not. It's that they're in a position on the spectrum that you're not familiar with.
Yes.
And because you're not familiar with it, and then you can't get comfortable with that, you want to diagnose it so that you can tell them how they can be more accommodating toward you.
Mm-hmm.
And that works so much in the addiction world, in the mental health world, in all of these, worlds when it's just like, what, I just don't understand it, so we're gonna call it something. And because once we call it something, once we start to have like these ways of breaking it down here in the world around us, we can be more comfortable with you. You are perfectly fine. But now that we have language of on the spectrum, now that we have language of addiction, now that we have language of mentally ill, like all of a sudden we get to, as a society, put you somewhere that you never belonged, and because that didn't exist before. Because the spectrum and addiction is ubiquitous. Everybody is on the spectrum.
Agreed.
Everybody is addicted. Everybody is dealing with these things. And you have to suffer it because other people are less comfortable with the position you hold on that spectrum and the position that I have held in the addiction.
I don't suffer anything.
Well, what I
No,
mean,
but I know what you're saying. I understand completely what you're
you
saying. What
don't
I'm
like.
saying is
You're
I,
not suffering,
yeah,
but
they do see it as us being,
yeah,
um,
like I utilize the word
hey,
suffer as like I have to suffer the day, meaning I have to live through it. That's all I mean it as.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah. When I
understood.
utilize that term, like you just have to live. You have to live with the experience of. That's what I mean by suffer.
I understood. Like
Yeah.
you said, I do, and that's the way people they a lot of people will say, "Oh, you poor thing," and I'll say, "Why?"
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
That's
why?
this is just yeah,
Yeah,
and so coming back to this, like if you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. Relates for me back to that last line of being lived by the Tao, being lived in today, being lived as this thing. It's like you wake up and you are living today, not who you think you are supposed to be, who you thought you were supposed to be yesterday. Um, and that is where it's like you are living in
clean slate.
collaboration every moment,
Mm-hmm.
clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
You are in conversation with your life. It is not something that is planned, and a lot of people want to think, okay, I am complete because I have a goal, right? And you were talking about goals earlier. I am complete because I am on a path to this thing, and so like I know what I want and I'm going to get it. But it's like, well, what is happening in this moment right now for you, as you? And then as it continues, I think it continues to talk about the same thing, where it's like, if you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. And
Mm.
that's how, like that again is how like you have expressed living your day.
There,
If you want to become full, let yourself be empty.
that's another thing that resonated so much.
Yeah.
How many times have I been empty, and then filled
Right.
without even realizing?
Right.
I just
Fullness
was.
comes
Yes,
when you can be empty.
yes,
It's so beautiful.
it is.
Um, the master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people can recognize themselves in him. Because he has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. Thoughts?
I think there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
The master, and I spoke with someone about mastering things last night. I even dreamed about it.
Mm-hmm.
There are no real masters. There are people who say that they are, and they're not. You don't
Right.
say it. You don't. If you think you are, you're wrong.
Right. And this is like you said, like that first, like if they talk about it, if they're saying it, because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. You don't display yourself as a master,
No.
because if you are, you are. You have nothing to prove.
Yes. There's no reason to. There's no reason. I will take this back to a conversation I had in a room with some individuals that were healing, discussing the nice guy. If a guy has to tell you he's a nice guy, then he isn't.
Right.
It's just breaking it down in layman's terms. Very, very simple.
Yeah.
If a master doesn't have to tell you that, a master doesn't even see himself as a master. He just knows what he knows,
Yes.
and people follow because he
Because he has
is.
nothing to prove,
Yes,
people can
yes,
trust his words.
yes.
Because he doesn't know who he is, people can recognize themselves in him. It's not a master is someone who knows marketing and knows how to tell you and prove to you that he is the master. It is someone who doesn't know who he is. That way he can just be present in this moment, right now.
Right. Okay.
And then
Well,
we just wrap up with the last lines that we were
hmm,
talking about. Only in being lived by the Tao can you truly be yourself.
that's something I'll have to think about. I feel like I'm pretty much unapologetically myself.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's because you're able to be present in this moment right now.
Um, Thank you very much, Martin John. Someone told me to come talk to you, and I'm here. And
Thank you so much. I'm glad that the word's getting around, but I'm really glad to connect with you. I think you do some great work.
thank you. I'll speak with you soon.
We will. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Sammy's up next, and then my buddy Kelly's in line. If you can hang out, like I would love to connect.
Hi,
Sammy, how you
Martin
doing?
John. How are you?
I am
I'm
doing.
great.
I'm doing great. I had Marcella on my show. What? Like
I know.
that
I'll
was.
admit I was the one who told her to come talk to you because I just
Oh,
knew that y'all would make a good connection. She's such a sweetheart. I love her to death.
yeah. It was wonderful to connect with her. Okay, but now I'm
You
going to be connecting with you. So I'm taking a breath,
okay?
and we're just gonna like, oh, Sammy, such a hard worker you are. Like I can just feel that right now. Like, oh
That's
man,
so funny. I was just telling Martella I just got done scrubbing my kitchen from top to bottom.
yeah. Like I can
Yeah.
just there's some energy going on, some stuff. So let's dive in. Do you have a number for me?
I do. I was thinking 17.
17. Let's see what 17 has for us. When the master governs, the people are hardly aware that he exists. Next best is the leader who is loved. Next, one who is feared. The worst is one who is despised. If you don't trust the people, you make them untrustworthy. The master doesn't talk, he acts. When his work is done, the people say, amazing, we did it all by ourselves.
Wow. Uh so I guess my first thought is I'm not real sure how this is supposed to relate to me right now because I'm definitely not a leader, but I've never had a moment with you that I didn't need to hear at the time. So I'm very interested in what you have to say.
So when we talk about governing, when we talk about leading, we talk about all those things, we look at it from a broad perspective as well as like macro and micro, right? Of
Uh-huh.
course, this could be governing. This could be like leading your band. It could be, but it might not be. It could also be governing your home. It could
Okay.
also be governing your body. It could also be, like you might be the leader of your pet, right? It might be anything, but we also have to recognize that it's internal, right? You are
Mhm.
the leader. You are the leader of your body. And when we look at this, it does go through a dissolution, right? So there's dissolving happening in this first line, in these first lines, and we'll go through it line by line, just
Okay.
because that's where we can go now. When the master governs, okay, so this is the highest form of this is the highest form of the dissolving nature of this first section. So when the master governs, the people are hardly aware he exists. Next best is the leader who is loved. Next, one who is feared. The worst, one who is despised. Okay, so the dissolving is the master governing, then the leader who is loved, then the leader who is feared, then the leader who is despised. Okay, so
Okay.
that is how it starts to dissolve. So those are the four stages of being. Well, there's like three stages of being the leader, and then the master. And the
Huh.
master doesn't necessarily hold the role of a governor, right? He doesn't hold the role of a leader, but he's a master amongst the people. Because when the master governs, he's not telling people what to do. The people are hardly aware he exists. He might just be someone that is guiding, because
That's
that's what
beautiful.
governing is, right? And so you, although might not be the leader of the band, you may still be governing moments. And the people that are being moved by the master are hardly aware that the master was part of it at all.
Right.
So
So
when
it's
I
almost like
say that, when I
living
lay
through
that out,
example.
what's that?
Is it almost kind of like akin to leading by example, like living by example?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So like when when you inspire people by being, you're not leading, you're not governing, but you
Right.
are, because that is inspiring others to be. You aren't
Right.
like Marcella and I were speaking. It was like you don't prove yourself when you're a master. You just be, and
Mhm.
by being, you are governing. You're governing this moment. So
Hmm.
where in your life might you see yourself as being able to let go of leading, but still inspiring?
Uh
I mean, I know you're inspiring on
immediate
here.
You're very sweet. I the first thing that came to mind was my mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and I actively work on, on an almost minute by minute basis trying to let go of some of my trauma, and I think that's how it's resonating with me right now.
Yeah. Now, if you were to come on here and talk big talk about mental health and stuff, you would have to inspire people to listen to you through one of these next three ways, right? It would start
Mhm.
to dissolve, like your truth, your intent, by having a purpose, would begin to dissolve. You wouldn't just be present with this moment. You would be like, I am going to lead you, to help you, to do you, da 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 da. And you would have to either win them over by love, by being like, hey, you can trust me, and all of these things. But then, it's interesting, these three things, loved, feared, and then despised. It's kind of like the dissolution of a leader. Like when you start being a leader, you want to be loved. We can look at some of the most feared and despised leaders of the world, like Hitler, and we can say, well, he started by getting people to love him.
Uh-huh.
But then over time, the people that started loving him started to fear him. And
Hmm.
then over time, people despised him. And that is how, so often relationships dissolve, because it's like, I'm trying to
True.
lead you, because I'm in a relationship and I want to dictate to you how you are supposed to be. And so we start by winning them over with love, and then we get scared that we're going to lose that love, and so now we have fear. And then the
Right.
worst one is the one who's despised.
Wow. It's funny that you mentioned the love part, or relationship. I mean, of course it means relationships, not just boyfriend girlfriend, but my boyfriend and I broke up about a week ago, week and a half or
Oh,
so. And and that just really resonates with me, Martin John.
yeah.
You know, the
I'm sorry to hear that.
disillusionment
I'm
of
sorry.
love.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Especially
Um
if there was, like, you love them, and then however that, like, dissolved, or however that,
yeah.
like, came to its conclusion. You know,
I
it's,
think we learned everything we needed to from one another, and we
yeah,
just have separate paths. I wish him nothing
yeah,
but the best, but uh, ultimately it just wasn't meant to work out.
yeah.
You know,
Well, that's, yeah. And that's a beautiful way of being able to address it. I always like to say, as it relates to relationships, all relationships are going to end. That doesn't mean
right,
that they're going to be the kind of ending that you never talk again, but this is going to change.
right.
So this relationship as it sits right now is going to change. And when we can be open to it changing, and that means redefining itself completely,
Mm-hmm.
then we are much more open to um, being in that space of, like we're talking in the Tao, of course. So in the parlance of that, into being a master, being here, present with what is, without wanting to make it something else for me.
Okay.
Hmm.
Huh.
The next line is, if you don't trust the people, you make them untrustworthy. How does that resonate with you?
I, on this journey, since my trauma, it took me a while to learn to trust people again.
Hmm.
But I learned that I was looking at people through like shades of PTSD, so I
Yeah,
don't, or I try not to apply that lens to everyone I meet. I mean, it can be difficult at times, but you're right. If you're out there looking for problems, ultimately you're probably going to find them,
that's
and
right.
or they'll find you at the very least.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And so this one wraps up with the master doesn't talk, he acts. When his work is done, the people say, amazing, we did it all ourselves. And of course, this does state the people say, but this could be the cells in your body say, this could be your cat says, this could be whatever it is you are governing, whatever you are dealing with at the moment. When the master deals with some shit, the people are hardly aware he exists, right? When the master
Sure.
deals with, like, and then so at the end here, the master doesn't talk, he acts. And when his work is done, the people say, amazing, we did it all by ourselves, without having to give the credit to the master.
Hmm.
And I think about your scrubbing the kitchen today. And that may be because you're hurting still, that happened. But it's like
Yeah.
being here in the moment. This is what you needed. You needed this meditative moment. And as you step back, you didn't require anything of the kitchen. The kitchen can say, oh, look, we're clean.
Right.
And it's not that you talked about it. You didn't you just did it because
Yeah.
it needed doing, but you needed to be doing too. And even though
That's
we could look at it as an action, right? It was an action that came through you.
sure. Sure. It's a great way to practice mindfulness, in my
Hmm.
opinion, like being in the moment. And yeah, it just needed to be done. Thank you for
Hmm.
recognizing that and putting it into that perspective. I really appreciate
Yeah. And once
it.
again, I want to wish my best to you, and my condolences on the relationship. It's
Oh,
always hard. It's always
yeah.
hard.
I mean, I feel like I should be more broken up about it, honestly, than
Yeah.
I am. But, um,
Well, when things take their
he's a terrific
course,
guy. Yeah. It,
yeah,
it was just time for it to end.
that's good. That's
So
good. And was it like your doing or his? Like
it
that
was
that
both of
actually.
us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
It was,
good.
it was a mutual thing. So
Yeah.
I wish him nothing but the best. And, um,
And I'm sure he wishes the same for you.
yeah. Yeah. He's a terrific person and a wonderful man, but together we're just not that terrific.
Yeah. That
Well, thank you so much, Martin John. It's always such a pleasure to talk with you.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad. It's always great to connect with you as well. Thank you so much,
All
Sammy, and
right.
you have a
Have a great
great
day,
day.
Sugar.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye bye. We're gonna bring Kelly on. She was able to stick around. Sharente, you are next. Kelly, my buddy, out in California these days. How's it going?
Hi. Good. I just climbed a little hilltop and I'm looking at the sunrise.
Oh,
Oh,
wonderful.
overlooking like what is this? The northwest corner of Los Angeles, and it's really nice. Yeah. I
Oh,
used to walk this
northwest
all the
corner.
time. The
Mhm.
corner. It is. Hi. Oh,
Hi.
so a number because I'm out of breath, but it is so good
Yeah,
to
well,
see
I'm
you
just
again.
sitting here with you for a moment. This is our this is the first time we're chatting on wisdom
Wisdom
since my crazy adventure, and you
and,
have
and mine.
had such a lot going on right now. So I'm really glad to be connecting and that we have this moment.
You know, it's interesting. It just occurred to me as you said that this app or any of these social audio apps with like consistent communication on them, it kind of tells your story. Like you could go back and listen oh, to like the last few months and hear like the growth and the change and stuff in people, it's really
Yeah. Yeah, I bet if I were to go back and listen to my Tao of the days, like, and then before and after my retreat, I can tell that there's a different tone in my
yeah.
voice today, now that I've gone through that, and I don't know if it's going to fade, and I'm gonna go back into where all that I was doing, and not that I was doing anything wrong or bad or anything. It's just, I don't whether I'm going to revert or if it's something that's permanent or what. But I'm definitely quieter now. I'm calmer now, I think, than I used to be. So.
The reset, yeah. I think even the hiccups, even the hard times,
Mm. You
they
muted.
might be
Did
the
you get a call?
yeah, I did. I passed it on for a few. I said that
Okay.
the hard times are like chaotic. They don't feel like they're the quiet kind of retreat sort of resets, but they're still resets too, it's just like
Yeah,
a growth
absolutely.
period.
Yeah. Okay. Now that your breath is back and we're
43.
connected. 43. Okay. The gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. That which has no substance enters where there is no space. This shows the value of non action. Teaching without words and performing without actions. That is the master's way. That's it.
Hmm. Can we read it again?
Yep. The gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. That which has no substance enters where there is no space. This shows the value of non action. Teaching without words, performing without actions. That is the master's way.
Don't force it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's all within, like you're born with it. So like you don't have to force it. Like it's naturally going to unfold when you allow
Yeah.
it within its own space.
You know, this one is really nice. I'm going to want to start going through it line by line because I do like some of the things that are being said in here, and it's important to, because when we talk gentle things, hard things, like substance, space, all of these things, like it gets really poetic, but there's a lot here. Just like you're saying, just like let these things be, and they will unfold. But the gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world.
Yes. Water and rock. Like, right?
Yeah, that's the classic sort of way of looking, right? Like water, like you can put your hand in it, you can pour it over something, you wash with it, you do all these things, and yet it can, I mean, I saw a water jet, like CNC machine, so a water jet like cutting machine, cut 1/8 inch piece of aluminum um,
But
into the perfect thing, right?
that makes me think of like ancient architecture. But
Right,
also just a gentle drop. A drop of water can take like the hard, like cutting edge of stone and soften it, round it, over time.
right. Hmm.
Like over time it just is persistent. You persistently love, you persistently show up, you persistently like honor who you are inside, and like over time it can wear away the hard parts within you or others too.
I also think of, like, when I talk about the gentlest thing, I also think about like a puppy or a kitten,
Hmm.
like, and how, like, just a puppy and a kitten could take someone in like this hard, bad mood and get overcome by it. Just be overcome by like just that softness, that gentleness,
It's
that
true.
moment, you know. Um, and yielding through a hard moment, yielding is gentle, right? Yielding, like,
Yeah, yielding is.
it's so gentle. It is something that you just, okay, this is like, it could be like, oh, I spilled my coffee, I got in traffic, I did all of this, and da 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 da. But like, once you stop focusing on all that and you yield to that moment, that is gentle overcoming hard. That is just, oh, and that's you allowing this moment to be the gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. That which has no substance enters where there is no space. How do you read that?
Mm. I think that for me it's the hidden things. It's like I said the other day, like that dark matter isn't meant to be understood. So no matter what our theories are, to just somebody randomly, but no matter what our theories are about it, we're not going to know the truth because it's not meant for us in this way to understand it. It's not meant for us to define. That's what comes to mind is that like there's a lot that like the more you try to deconstruct, the more you try to know and define and whatever, like the less you're going to. So it's there are some things that are just they just are, and you just receive and you just allow, and like you don't try to force and try to determine and try to change it.
Yeah, let me see if I understand you correctly. When we dark matter exists within everything. I mean, there's more dark matter than there is matter. We have discovered that. But this idea that dark matter is a part of everything. It is the void. It is Tao. It is all that is. It is behind everything. It is the substance of all things. So when you talk about that, like, and you reference the idea that we're not meant to understand it. There's no space for us to understand dark matter. There's no space in a
Yeah.
wall for us to witness dark matter, for us to see it, for us to experience it, for us to have it. And yet it is there anyway.
The yeah. The more you try to define or contain or label whatever, define it, the less you can.
Yeah, you can't grasp it. And someone expressed this to me one time, and just trying to get a coin from between two bucket seats in a car. like
Mm.
as soon as you put your fingers in there, you spread the cushions out enough, and it just falls deeper and deeper and deeper and
Yeah,
deeper.
I heard that on here actually, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
And I do like that, because that's like, that which has no substance enters where there is no space. And that's the thing, dark matter does exist in everything, and it's all around us, but we can't define it, we can't grasp it, sometimes we can't find it, we can't see it, we can't witness it, but it is there. And so it may be the building block of all matter. And yet it cannot be experienced. This is the feminine and the masculine. This is like, dark matter being the feminine and then the matter being the masculine. And so you cannot separate the two.
Yeah.
One cannot be experienced without the other. And yet we can't, and yet there is no space in order for that to exist in our understanding. And so in that, it has no substance and is able to be where there is no space, all things. And we can think about them as full and packed and compact, and yet still there is more there.
And you keep focusing, not you, but like me, anybody, when we focus and we're like spiraling into the thoughts, into trying to understand, the rest doesn't get experienced. All of the
Right.
life that's occurring is lost on you. You're
Yes.
because you're so hyper focused on defining dark matter, for example, and really it's its own space. It's its own thing. Like we don't have to create a box and put it in there. Like when you do, you literally miss the actual thing you're looking for within the dark matter. Like
Yeah, there
you're
was a
missing the reason to live, you know? Huh?
yeah. There was a quote that was written in one of the murals at the it was a Francis Assisi quote, like,
Mm,
that which you are looking for is that which is looking.
I like that. That's good.
And then this Tao wraps up with teaching without words, performing without actions. That is the master's way. How does
It's
that
not an
relate? How does that relate back to all that we were talking about? Gentle and
it
hard and dark matter.
it takes no action for you to be your true self when you just like allow yourself to just be. It like you don't have to try to be yourself other than maybe just uncloaking from the years of things you've been buried under. But like just being you is the example because that's really the light and the way to the light, I think, like to being light. Like it's and it's hard. And I am always working on it. So it's not like it's just a thing, but it doesn't have to be hard. It just is because that's how we make things. But it's that's the example is like when you see other people for like just to take it down a notch, like just being themselves and just being present, whoever they are, like in their own alignment, their own purpose, like that's being the example, the teacher, the leader, that you don't have to try for that. Like just is, you just are. And
Yeah.
we all just want to be like identity is such a big deal because it's a big deal because we all are just trying to remember how to just be ourselves and just
Right.
be. That's what
Yeah. When we want to teach with words, when we want to go out and show people. I mean, I was talking to, was it Marcella? I don't recall. Might have been Marcella or Sammy. We were talking earlier about this idea of like having preconceived ideas of what I'm going to go out and do. I'm
Mhm.
gonna sell myself. I'm gonna sell my
Mm,
wares. I'm going to do all of these things and I can help you. And even my email yesterday that went out was like, do you think you can help other people? You're wrong. There are no other people, right? Like
mm-mm,
that's the whole point, right? The whole point is that like if you're here to teach with your words, and if you're here to like try and inspire people, well then you're going about it in the wrong way. You're going about it not in the wrong way. You're going about it in a way that is not the way of the master. You're going about it in a way that maybe you are a leader. And as we spoke about with Sammy,
Sammy?
the leader was either going to be, one who is feared, loved, or despised. And so, if you start with the relationship of like, I want you to love me, right? Like the words that I use could be manipulative and all of these things. But when you can teach without words, just by being,
Mm,
when you can perform without actions, meaning no preconceived actions, like the actions that you take, like your walk this morning, just happened. I'm
mhm,
suspecting, but
yeah.
and that will inspire others around you and inspire people here to get off their ass and take a walk, maybe. But that's
I
like
think of a
that's the
magnet
master's way.
too. Like, you know, you can like cover a magnet up and like make it be less magnetic, but like we're strong magnets. And like when you just be the magnetic person that you are, like it will pull, it leads then, like it pulls others, like they're pulled towards being their selves, you know, like it's an automatic kind of lead. And you
You just dropped. So if you want to come back on and land that, I would love to have you back up, Kelly. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to do that. There you are. So glad to have you.
I didn't really, I thank you for having me back. And magnets, so you know, like magnets just like they all go together in the end. Like you can stack them or whatever, but they're all going together at that point in whatever direction. Like just being yourself, not trying to like lead by whatever, you become like magnetic. You help others to also then go together with you. Like, does that make sense? That metaphor? Like,
Yeah, and I also want to kind of take that a little further and say that, like when you're a magnet and other people are magnets as well, when you approach those people with the wrong intentions, you could be pushing them away just as easily.
yeah, oh yeah, just yeah,
Because magnets both attract and
and
repel,
repel.
as do we.
Like leading isn't about come with me and I'll show you the way. It's just being that authentic, just being comfortable with being yourself. Like, there's so much about that it's been like a birth for me, and it still is, that of just like being me however I am. And there are people before me that I'm pulled towards because they're them however they are, and that empowers me and it makes me happy and excited to think that that's possible. And again, identity, you know, the like gender identity stuff is really coming forward because identity, like it's always there's a lot to that, and that's when you can be your most magnetic and your most like pure part of yourself amongst this world. You know, is it's just being the you that you were born to be.
Yeah, I'm going to take that. I'm just going to wrap this up with
Yeah.
returning to the beginning of this. The gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing. The gentlest thing is being yourself.
Yeah.
The hardest thing is being what other people want you to be.
Yeah. Trying to conform.
That which has
Really,
no substance enters where there is no space. Like that
it's not.
too
Yeah.
relates back to being oneself.
Mhm. Totally.
So that's so I just wanted to, like, as we were talking about this really all kind of came back around, and I just wanted to show that again, because like you have, like, this may sound strange, but you have no substance.
Mhm.
You can be here at this moment, shift, change, be what you need to be right now. You don't have to hold on to something, and by not holding on to something, that identity, you can enter where there is no space, and you will find space for yourself to be. Kelly, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
You are such an insight, and it is such a joy to have you with me. And I'm so glad that our magnets attract and don't repel.
Oh, beautiful. I love you. Thank you, Garcia. I'll talk to you
we'll,
soon.
we'll be
But
in touch.
all right, bye bye.
Sharente, how are you? Um, I might take the opportunity to say Sharente's gonna. I'm gonna end with Sharente today. I think every day this week I'm ending with Sharente.
Dun dun dun!
Look at
Yay!
that! Like, this is a perfect period to my Tao of the days this week. I'm
I'm
trying to
just gonna
take it.
say this. You're gonna be like, really, Sharente? The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. At last,
I I need I'm still needing
regulation.
Yeah, I still need to like I was thinking, like by today I'd be fine, and but
Mm-mm.
there's still like my nerves are still jittery from the experience that I had over last week. So I'm taking some liberties by being able to step away, and I can give myself that.
Give yourself the space to have grace. Yes.
Yes. So I'm gonna move to Hogan because you and I dig on Hogan together.
We really do. And I will say, I don't have anything in front of me today. Today, I am redoing my hair because it didn't like my hairstyle. And it said, I'm going to jump out. So I don't have it
Oh,
on
it was
hand.
just like, no, you got. I need more attention.
Yeah, it said the audacity of this hairstyle. And I said, ooh, that's nice. Okay. I don't like that. So I'm fixing it myself. I did talk to my braider, but I'm fixing it myself because it's not their responsibility after my hair's done to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
not their responsibility. It's my responsibility to do the upkeep. And if the style that they did just not working, I just know who my certain person is for certain things and they're not for other things. And there's
Yep.
nothing wrong with that because everyone has strengths. But I
That's
want
right.
to choose 55 if I could.
Well, of course you can. Of course you can. We have a 55, so you can choose it. Oh, it's another logwood. So that's
Okay.
good. So, so again, you don't have to read along, of course, because you're doing your hair and stuff. But we're going to. I'm going to read this through, and I think your mom picked this once because I think I've only read this one once before. So, and this is Hogan, and the one that your mom and I read through was Stephen Mitchell. So,
Okay.
a person filled with the power of Tao is like a baby boy. Bees can't sting him. Wild beasts can't attack him. A baby has soft bones and weak muscles, but a firm grip. He hasn't had sex, but he can get an erection. That's because he has a lot of energy. He can cry all day and never lose his voice. That's because he's at one with the world. If you're at one with the world, you know consistency. You know constancy. You know constancy. Have you ever heard of the word constancy?
Not a
Is
day
it
in my
about being,
life.
what's that?
I said, not a day in my life. What is I
That
heard of
I'm looking it up right now
consistency,
so we
but
can
not
so
constancy. I was like,
maybe it's a constancy. Okay, constancy is a word. Steadfastness of steadfastness of mind under duress. If
okay.
you're at one with the world, you know constancy. And if you know constancy, you've been enlightened. So steadfastness of mind during duress. Okay, so that's the idea of constancy. Okay, final lines. It's not healthy to try to prolong your life. It's unnatural to impose the mind's will upon the body. People waste time and energy trying to be strong or beautiful, and their strength and beauty fade. They've lost touch with Tao. And when you lose touch with Tao, you might as well be dead.
Well, dang.
Well, hell. How the hell?
That's what I said. Well, dang. That's very blunt, but I appreciate the truth.
Yeah,
Um,
I love a good blunt truth.
I was just like,
So initial thoughts,
whoa.
things that come to your mind. Just I know we broke it up a couple times, but
I will say that consistency. Oh my god. Okay, say it one more time. Constancy. Is that what the word was?
yeah, constancy. So like ultimately the state of being constant.
So the state of being constant for me in regards to a world that I know it has its ebbs and flows is that by me being able to go through it and still have a positive attitude majority of the time and
Mm-hmm.
very little go into the negative and then go on a full ram like negative for like maybe like 3 6 months kind of
Yeah,
thing and compared to years that
yeah,
helped me be able to bounce back into my positive because I was being positive before and I remembered what that felt like.
yeah.
Um and I will say that those that accidentally succumb to the world, they will die a death that they will feel like, why did I miss out on all
Yeah.
of these things? And they just didn't know that they were already enough. They didn't know all of these things that you could learn if you choose to learn them, kind
Yeah.
of thing, because they didn't see it that way and they didn't know any other way besides the way that they've seen it. And some people lose hope due to that kind of thing.
You
And
know,
so that's what I see first, but I would like to do line by line.
yeah, and as we're gonna go through this line by line, there's this interesting thing that I really don't. I really kind of like. I'm a little like shaking my head about this verse, and it's like there's these two parts, right? Like this part, like I really appreciate the part that starts with, if you're at one with the world, you know constancy, and if you know constancy, you've been enlightened. It's not healthy to try and prolong your life. It's unnatural to impose the mind's will upon the body. I like all of that and everything that it finishes with. The beginning, like, and I get the erection thing, and I think the whole thing is revolving around this idea of, you don't know this, but you can do this, right? The little boy doesn't know about sex, and yet he can have an erection. Okay, and that's true. But this whole beginning seems to, like, although that point is made, it seems like there's a lot written here that revolve around really separating things, and I don't really appreciate that. And I like the Stephen Mitchell version. It didn't make me feel the same way the Hogan version does. But I'm going to go ahead and read this first part
That's
before,
fine.
and it says. The person filled with the power of Tao is like a baby boy. Bees can't sting him, wild beasts can't attack him. So, what they're saying is, like, a person filled with the power of the Tao is like this rough tumble sort of, boy, quote unquote. Like it's like a, like an, again, I don't, the separating from the gender thing really kind of like is throwing me off a bit. And I know that because, girls are like this as well, like they can get dig in the mud and be at one with the earth.
Marja, I got you. It's just I was like, just I think of it always as gender neutral whenever you're talking about he or she
Yeah.
or whatever pronoun it is, because my thing is that we are both. We just have a different expression
Yes.
on the outside of us, so
Right.
it's all
that
good.
that that we that we can immediately identify, right? Like, oh, there are breasts here, so then I can identify what this is.
Yeah, some are
Yeah.
just expressed and some are not. Like
Right.
that's what I was like, they're here. So I completely get you, and I will say when I hear that, when I think of that, I think of they don't know the rules or the lay of the land at all, so their mind is free to explore or remember whatever they want to remember in
Hmm.
that moment, because they are living in that moment, because they have no idea about keeping on holding on baggage. They have no idea about words. They're just living their life and they are figuring out ways to communicate through their body.
Right.
And sometimes that's wands, but it's okay.
And that's the great thing, because all that thing that I just read, that bees can't sting him, wild beasts can't attack him, um relates back to that first line of everything that I like about this verse, which is, if you're at one with the world, you know constancy. And that baby, that child running around and just being at one with themselves, knows the world, is at one with the world in this moment. And that's how I
Hmm.
see that. So I
And they're
really appreciate
present.
that. They're present
So
right now with
they're
the world
present.
as it is.
Like right now, I'm dual tasking. I'm taking that from Mr. Darrell with the dashes. And I am listening to you. We're having a full conversation, and I'm still looking in the mirror doing my hair at the
Yeah.
exact same time. But my thing is, right now, I feel present, and I feel very happy because I'm in the present. I'm not thinking about my next thought. I'm not thinking about what happened in the past. I'm just here. If
Right.
that makes any sense.
Absolutely. So then the next section is about, the a baby has soft bones and weak muscles, a firm grip, but a firm grip. You know, and that's always amazing about children, like that they have a grip. They have weak muscles, but you can you can put the child's hands and they'll hang from a bar. You know, like that's always been amazing to me. Um, he hasn't had sex, but he can get an erection. That's because he has a lot of energy. He can cry all day and never lose his voice. That's because he's at one with the world.
I will say it is true that it doesn't matter what age of a hero, a person is still a person, and they still have those senses. Doesn't mean that you're just automatically turned off when they first come out. So that part does make sense. Um, and it's just letting people know that, or at least for me, is that you can get aroused by thing, and that's because you just have a lot of energy. Just
Hmm.
redirect that energy somewhere else, and you straight. It doesn't have to be through a sexual release. It just has
Right,
to be through a release, and then you have to figure out what releases are the best and healthiest for you, kind of thing, and
right.
what that looks like.
And I also like you can cry all day without losing his voice. Like you're at one with the world. Like you're not. It's not like you're crying because you're trying to get anything, you're trying to do anything, you're just crying. And this is communicating, this is all of the things. It's not manipulative, it's not negative, it's not wasting your energy. It is your energy.
Oh yeah, and that's what I absolutely love it because, like I said here, a dog can bark all day. He's not
Hmm.
tired himself out. And I'm like, little homie, like your voice
Yeah,
getting
i'm
sore?
i'm
No.
i'm tired.
And he's like, no. And I'm like, straight. I hear you. Straight.
Yeah,
Okay. It is headphones. That's why I gave me headphones. It's all good.
yeah.
Um, so like I said, I completely get that. And then, did we get to the middle part again? Is that
We're
where we're
here
going
again
next?
now. If you're at one with the world, you know constancy. And if you know constancy, you've been enlightened.
I will say this. I had to think about this yesterday because it was brought up into my spirit because of an interaction that I had. And then I realized that I was playing superhero to someone I
Mm,
had no business playing superhero to, which caused them to not live under constancy. And now they're having to do it. And I'm like, I thought you'll be a lot further along. Well, I was always rescuing. How can they have lived in that constancy if I wasn't rescuing them? And now that
right,
I'm not, they have to live through it and they have to figure out how they're still going to prevail through it. And that's not for me. That's
right.
for them to
And
learn
they
that
have to do that
lesson.
on their own. And they have to figure it out.
Exactly.
Like they can't use your path that you showed them before. They have to find their shit.
Exactly. And I can't do nothing about it. And my thing is that that's okay because I've realized that the best thing that I can do for people is to pray from a distance because I
Hmm.
don't know what their will is.
That's
And I
right.
could be imposing my will on them. And they're like, well, I didn't want that. And I'm like, hey, sorry. So I'm not
Right.
going to impose my will on nobody. I'm just going to say with love. And that's all I can say is with love.
So this moves into an interesting place because now it says it's not healthy to try and prolong your life. And what I see that is like prolong the identity that you have right now. Prolong like even with you, it's not healthy for you to try and prolong the this other person's life, like life as the identity of someone. Like it's not healthy for you to prolong your life as the helper. It's not. And come back up if you get cut
I,
down, if you can.
I'll come back up right now.
Yeah. And so all of these things, right, like this concept, this idea of it's not healthy to try to prolong your life. It's unnatural to impose the mind's will upon the body. And I think all of that really kind of does come back to, I think all of that comes back to this space that you're talking about, where it's like you were trying to help somebody and you were trying to prolong their success under a certain assumption. And yet they weren't actually having success because they
Not
weren't able,
at all.
right?
And
They
I
weren't
realized I did that.
right. Yeah, and that's important to recognize. And then, like, it's not healthy to prolong that. It's not healthy. Like let them fail now so that they can learn. And when they learn, they will start to live in constancy. They will start to live in a consistent way, because they can't live in a consistent way when you're telling them what to do, unless you're going to always tell them what to do, which is not healthy.
I was like, I don't have time for that.
And then we go into people waste time and energy trying to be strong or beautiful, and their strength and beauty fade. You don't have time for that.
I have no time for it because here's my thing. When I did have time for it, I didn't have time to be creative. And
Right.
I'm like, I like being creative. I like writing. I like doing all of these things. But when I'm here, when I am in other people's business, I am not about my business.
Right.
And
That's right.
that's an issue because that means I really am not at my personal fullest. And
You
I
know,
like me at my personal fullest.
and that's a possibility of like trying to be strong, right? I want to be seen as strong, so I'm going to go get in your business. I'm going to tell you what's right. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do all these things, but it's like that's going to fade. Why? Because you are more important.
You
So
here,
ultimately, you
yep.
at this moment are more important than helping others, or by doing all of those extra, extracurricular things. It's like, no, it's more important for Sharente to be Sharente right now than to try and be somebody else in 20 minutes or whatever.
Nope, here, and then here, this is where I'm like, I don't code switch. If that, or I do code switch. Actually, I'm not gonna lie because I don't cuss at work like that.
I
But
get it. Yeah.
that is okay, kind of thing. That's because it's an HR thing. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I will say this is that I'm happy that I was able to have that experience surface up too, so that I
Mm-hmm.
can opono that shit, like my mom
Yep.
says. And then after I did that, I felt so much better. And then I saw a movie where they talked about this exact concept, which was Morbius. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh wow, now you're showing me in a movie. Okay, universe, I see how you work. Like
Yep.
and the thing is that the guy didn't want to prolong his life because he's like, no, I'm meant to die because now it became something that's very harmful to other people. It's
Mm.
this prolonging my life actually was way worse than I thought it was, and because it's not going to
Yeah.
help everyone else around me.
Beautiful.
So I love it, and that was the last line, correct?
No, we do have one more, but they've lost touch with the Tao, and when you lose touch with the Tao, you might as well be dead.
If you lose touch with that love part of you, you might as well be dead because you're going to be living in a constant state of hell.
Yeah. And dead is like this you might as well be dead, because the next you is going to be one that can love. So like let this identity die. Let the identity of the person who helps die. Let the identity of the person who can't embrace the constancy of their life and can't allow those around them to embrace the constancy of their lives, let that image die. Because when you can embrace all that, when you can be all that, then you can grow into someone who can embrace that love that you have within you. Yeah, might as well be dead.
No, I hear it. I completely get that. And I will say this, the death to yourself is a constant process because you're always having to choose if you're going to pick up your grave clothes or you're going to pick up your new clothes on a constant basis with all the decisions that you make throughout the day,
Yeah.
kind of thing. How are you going to respond this way? How are you going to respond this way? And I will say this is that getting in touch back with my emotions, which is getting in touch back with the Tao, helped
Mm-hmm.
me to see all the things that I'm able to surmise from my experience as of right now. It's going to change tomorrow, which means I'm going to die again to another thought and wake up to another thought. And that there's nothing wrong with that.
That's right. Oh, Sharente, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're. Good luck with all the hair products and things.
I appreciate it. And it's only one hair product. and it's just
Okay.
that
Well,
gel
that's
stuff
good. That's good.
and me braiding it. So I'm like, it's a very good deal. And like I said, I'm doing it. And Martin Josh want to let you know this. Sharente is not a hair person. Sharente doesn't maintain her hair. Sharente goes to someone else to maintain her hair. But I asked, I told myself, Sharente, you can do it. And then I just flowed. I didn't question it. I just flowed. And then I started doing the thing that I just talked to my mom a little bit earlier today. She's like, well, I do it this way. And I was like, oh, I started to do it that way. I guess I called upon you and I didn't realize it. But I appreciate it because my hair's starting to look better. But yeah, like, I love you. And I always do. Protect your energy like you do. And the thing is that if you don't come back with full ferocity, maybe that's because you're supposed to be spending your time doing other things that you don't know yet. And there's nothing
Oh,
wrong
yeah.
with that.
Yeah, we just take it one step at a time.
And bye bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, so great. Thank you guys so much. I am cutting it today. I'm ending now just because, once again, just energy. Like I'm taking a nice day today. I didn't go on a run today. I'm going to take a little walk later. It was great to have you guys on. Sharente, Kelly, Sammy, Marcella. Marcella, thank you for joining me. This was your first Tao of the day, and I was really grateful to have you. We covered 22, and if you didn't hear that, I think it was pretty insightful. So if you guys are interested, Marcella and I connected today for number 22. And then Lois started me off with 52. And thank you guys so much for your support for Tao of the Day. Thank you for your support for me. If you do benefit from my work, I take tips through Venmo if you are so inclined, at @MartinJohn_Garcia. I'm going to be setting up a couple workshop dates in the coming weeks. So if you guys are interested in checking out my workshops, definitely come on, check out the link here in Wisdom, and you'll find workshop links there, as well as links to write testimonials for me if you're interested in the work. If you are benefiting from the work I do, those are ways that you can help support me in my work, writing testimonials, coming to my workshops, giving me tips, and working with me one-on-one. I take a limited number of one-on-one clients every month, and that consists of 4 sessions. So if you're interested in doing those things, reach out to me, DM me on the back channels of Instagram, and check out the links in my Wisdom profile. Thank you so much. I'm Martin John, the Recovery Mentor, and until next time, keep recovering yourself.